You're entering the wind tunnel. No spin, no bull, just chat. Wind Tunnel is brought to you by Advance Auto Parts, the official auto parts retailer of NASCAR. I'm Lenny Baticki. This week on Wind Tunnel.
Stuart Friesen on the outside of the front row. Last race winner, Chandler Smith on the inside. The green flag is in the air, and we're racing at Atlanta. Sit back and enjoy the NASCAR Xfinity Series live from Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Welcome everyone to the 70th running of the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring.
So we grew up around sports car racing, so we were never, IndyCar or Formula One driven. It was always sports car and endurance racing, so.
It's another green flag at South Boston Speedway. 65 years of racing here.
This is the XBell 375. Somebody's going there. Big time.
At the end of the day, we had a phenomenal race, right?
The green flag in Atlanta.
You just have to really work on your time management. There are great people that work at that school, and they're really working to personalize your education for yourself and what you plan to do. So this semester, I went with my counselor and I said, I need a full day off where I could go to either the race shop or go to the track.
Here's your Wind Tunnel host, Jack Arute.
Welcome to what I'm calling the Wind Tunnel Young Guns episode. Why am I calling it that? Well, consider this. All of last weekend's top-level winners, with the exception of Joseph Newgarden, were drivers under the age of 30. And Newgarden just turned 31 this past December. Let's look at NASCAR's premier levels. In the trucks, it was 19-year-old Corey Heim taking the honors.
Chandler Smith continues to lead. Smith trying to go back-to-back after winning at Vegas. Heim goes to the bottom. Getting some help from John Hunter Nemechek. New leader, Corey Heim. Wow. Well, Corey Heim wins at Atlanta.
So many things going through my head right now, and that's just so surreal to be at my home track where I've, raced so many races around the Little Legends Oval out front, and, growing up 30 minutes from here and coming since I was a 2-year-old to watch Cup races here is pretty phenomenal to come here, even though it's not the same racetrack. It's a repave, as you mentioned, but even to just be inside these safer barriers and just pull it off right there was insane for me. It's just surreal. I'm at a lack of words a little bit, but as you mentioned, just a home race, it's surreal.
NASCAR's Xfinity win in Atlanta went to another 19-year-old.
Ty Gibbs looking for his second win of the year. He did it at Las Vegas. Back to the checkered flag. He's a winner in overtime at Atlanta.
It's just like those wins that you win and you're so not expecting them. Sometimes you go to a race, you feel like you're gonna, you feel pretty good about it, but here you never know. The speedways you never know. So to be able to win and add my name to the books here at Atlanta is super special. And I feel like just myself alone, after everything I put myself through today, going from the back to the front a couple times, I feel like it ain't over till it's over. And I feel like I learned a great lesson tonight.
Then it was time for an old man at the age of 24 to take down NASCAR's Cup Series victory.
Byron, top to bottom, hugs that white line, drifts up and comes to the line. He wins it as Buescher, Haley have a hard crash into the wall.
Today was awesome, obviously. We led a bunch of laps. It felt like we had the best car, the way we could move through the field, and just awesome to, win on kind of the inaugural race of Atlanta, in this style. So always cool to do something like that.
There were some young guns on the NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Series circuit as well. For that, we turned to Lenny Baticki of Performance Racing Network's short track hit show, At the Track.
Thanks a lot, Jack. This is your NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series report. Bethel Motor Speedway in Swan Lake, New York came to life. Tisha Curry and Dan Curry both getting victories. Florence Motor Speedway, Timmonsville, South Carolina, the big trophy going to Cade Brown. William Byron and Ryan Moore picking up wins at Hickory Motor Speedway in a non-points event. Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Bull Ring, the winner, Californian Sean Hingorani. New Smyrna, Florida, Well, New Smyrna Speedway, once again, the victory going to Brad May. Greenville Pickens Speedway in Easley, South Carolina, a win for young gun Jonathan Schaefer. Some other track notes. This weekend, Evergreen Speedway in Monroe, Washington will have their opener set for Saturday, while Irwindale Speedway, a little further down the coast in California, races the ARCA West. Motor Mile in Radford, Virginia will be hosting their awards banquet, crowning Chris Van Dyke the track champion. That's my report on the NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series. But up next, Jack has one more track to update with a young gun who won both features at last weekend's doubleheader. Take it away, Jack.
Lane Riggs had never won a late model race at South Boston Speedway until Saturday afternoon at Sobo's season opener.
And Lane Riggs makes the final turn down the front stretch for the final time. It's a checkered flag for the number 99 car of Lane Riggs.
The Bahama, North Carolina driver then went for the clean sweep of South Boston's twin 25-lap feature.
Lane Riggs wins it. The 87 car of Mike Looney in second.
In Sebring, Florida, IMSA and their WeatherTech series hosted the Mobile One 12 Hours of Sebring, presented by Advance Auto Parts.
Coming out of the final corner, Earl Bamber is going to win the Sebring 12 Hours for Chip Ganassi.
Young guns made their mark there as well. Jordan Taylor, who will be visiting me today, along with his co-drivers Antonio Garcia and Nicky Katzberg, dominated the GTD Pro Division, leading 237 of 323 laps in their canary yellow Chevrolet Corvette C8R.
Corvette Racing, here he comes. Garcia looking for his fourth win here at Sebring.
Disappointment at Daytona, Corvette wins at Sebring.
There was one winner on the weekend that was not a young gun. If you think 31 makes you old.
White flag waves, one to go for Scott McLaughlin.
Lee Callum Islet's last lap was 190 miles an hour. This is going to give Newgarden a chance on the back straightaway.
Look out, Malukas is first one on the list. Got to go to the inside. McLaughlin can't get there though, not close enough. Teammate is coming. Here comes Joseph Newgarden on the high side. Newgarden on McLaughlin. It's going to be a drag race. Newgarden has done it. Newgarden wins on the final lap.
You're the man.
How about that?
But that thrilling victory over his teammate, Kiwi Scott McLaughlin, who, oh, by the way, is, 28 years old.
I mean, look, I think Scott didn't do anything wrong. You know, I took a risk. I mean, I took a big risk there at the end. I just held it in 3-4 to see if it would work. And if it didn't work, it was going to be on me that I took a risk and it didn't work out.
Along with Jordan Taylor from IMSA, you'll meet a 20-year-old Virginia Tech student named Daniel Sylvestri, who has already served notice that he is a force in NASCAR's late model ranks. And I'll visit with one of IndyCar's amazing rookies. He's 23 and part of IndyCar's potent crop of 6 rookie competitors in the IndyCar circuit. His name, Kyle Kirkwood. Early this season, he's displayed considerable muscle, wheeling A.J. Foyt's famous Rocket Chevrolet number 14. And if we can pull him away from his non-racing passion, surfing, maybe we can learn about this kid from Jupiter, Florida, who is, by the way, the only driver in IndyCar history to score victories on every rung of IndyCar's ladder system. So sit back and enjoy this tribute episode of the Young Guns of Racing.
This week's guests are waiting in the wings, and you'll meet them coming up after the break. First up this week,
white flag is out for Kyle Kirkwood.
This kid is a whole lot of something special. Here comes Kyle Kirkwood.
What an impressive weekend for Kyle Kirkwood.
It's win number 9 for Kyle Kirkwood from Jupiter, Florida.
It's another sweep. Mid-Ohio belongs to Kyle Kirkwood again.
Look who's at the top, fellas. It's a rookie, Kyle Kirkwood for A.J. Foyt Racing with 1:15 to go. What a story that'd be.
Tiff, you and I are pointing at each other, looking further back at that black and white A.J. Foyt Racing, the number 14 of Kyle Kirkwood, the American rookie.
So the 87-year-old legend, A.J. Foyt, Supertex, is here today in his home state watching his new kid, Kyle Kirkwood, lead this race.
Our first young gun is A.J. Foyt's bright new star on the IndyCar circuit. Rookie Kyle Kirkwood drops in next.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
It's season 2 of your source for racing across America. It's Jack Arute's Wind Tunnel.
How about the move for Kyle Kirkwood? You guys have talked about it. He restarted 23rd, came up through the field, got into the top 10 in about 4 laps, and those 4 fresh Firestones helped a ton. Look at some of these moves this rookie is making on the racetrack.
Well, let's kick off our tribute to Young Guns with one that has really set the IndyCar series on its ear. Jupiter, Florida's very own pride and joy. No, not 70-year-old Rick Mears. Instead, there's a new sheriff in town, driver of the Rocket AJ Foyt IndyCar, Kyle Kirkwood. Kyle, welcome inside the wind tunnel. I promise you, it will not be difficult, okay?
Awesome. Good to hear. Yeah, thanks for having me, Jack.
Well, let's talk a little bit about why and how you got bitten with the bug to become a race car driver.
Well, I mean, that takes me way back. I mean, when I started, I guess my career, it wasn't even really a career at the time. It was a hobby for me. I started in karting when I was about 4 years old. And like I said, it was just a hobby. It's for me and my 2 older brothers. We got a kart for Christmas from my parents. And I loved it. I absolutely adored it. I drove around for multiple years around a local karting track out here at PBIR, which was Moroso at the time. Before I even did my first race, we would just go out there on weekdays after school, and I'd just go pound around, do some laps, and people took notice and said, "Hey, you need to start doing races, and this is kind of where everything leads to. It's possible you make a future out of this." So that's kind of the way that it got brought up, and yeah, I mean it's obviously taken off now, but so it's just me, young kid in karting before I could even remember. There's only bits and pieces I remember because I was 4 years old, and started doing my first races at the age of 7. Local kids around here that I used to race against was Oliver Askew, Pietro Fittipaldi, Logan Sargent, Dalton Sargent, who have all made it places now. Even Lance Stroll used to come from Canada and do all the races in Florida. It was a massive hub here for karting back in the day. And still is, during the winter months, you can't really go many places except for California, maybe further in the south, like Texas and Florida. And there's a ton of people that live here in Florida that are into racing. So I've grown up in the right area to make things work.
All right, so let me juxtapose that passion that grew at the age of 4 years old for motorsports, which now you have a professional career in, with the passion that I understand you have for surfing. Where did that start, and how does it fit in Kyle Kirkwood, age 23?
So, I mean, I grew up on the water, right? So a lot of my family has always been into things on the water, like fishing, diving. I picked up surfing because I saw it, and I just thought it was really cool. So that's really where it came from for me.
Well, you realize too, Kyle, that if you take it up, generally it's a good chick magnet too.
Maybe not here in Florida, maybe in other places, yeah. But Florida, there's so many guys that know how to surf, and it's similar to like Southern California where I live, where if you grew up around here and you still live here, then you got some idea on how to surf. I started surfing. I mean, I started off bodyboarding on a boogie board, and realized that it'd be a lot cooler if I could stand up on something. So I started surfing probably at the age of 10 or 11. And I absolutely love it. It's kind of part of my training regimen now. It's a way for me to disconnect from racing a little bit. You don't get social media notifications all day long. You're out there in the water. You get to swim around and surf with your friends, and it's a good activity to have alongside racing. So I absolutely love it. I go surfing any day that there's waves and I'm home. And hopefully there's going to be waves this week and I'll be able to go surfing just after Texas.
Let me pose this question to you. As you have climbed up the ladder, it goes without saying that the intensity increases geometrically as well. So how important is it to have a disconnect like that to kind of refocus and re-energize? And, they say if you can step away, even if it's for a brief little bit, it gives you a different perspective. As you now have got 2 races under your belt in your rookie season at IndyCar's level, how important is it to maintain that opportunity to disconnect?
I mean, that's a good thought, because there's so many guys and athletes in general that they are so absorbed by what they do. Their life depends on what they do. And if you don't have a disconnect, it's really easy to get drugged down by something bad happening, right? When you put so much energy into something and it doesn't work out the way you plan it, it tends to beat you down. So I think it's important to have something else in life other than what your main focus is, right? There's no way that it takes away from what I do in racing. All the other activities that I do, it only promotes it, and it keeps my spirits high, right? So, I mean, I always have something to look forward to. I look forward to going to a track, going testing. I look forward to going to races. I look forward to seeing my entire family at the races. And then I look forward to coming home and going surfing, diving, fishing, stuff like that. So it keeps me in high spirits. And I do think it's really important.
Your first oval contest, it had to come at a place that Indy Lights has not run at least as long as you were competing in them. That, of course, is the Texas Motor Speedway. And after struggling in qualifying, lo and behold, about 40 laps into the race, who's leading but this rookie? And they're beside themselves, Kyle Kirkwood with AJ Foyt in the pits watching you. And then it all went to hell in a handbasket. How did that affect your overall assessment of your performance at Texas first time out?
I mean, at the end of the day, we had a phenomenal race, right? We played the strategy right. We kind of had a thought process going into the race. We're like, well, if there's a caution that's going to come out early, we're going to take that. Kind of, if we're outside the top 16, 17, we're going to take that caution, because most of the other people behind us are going to do the same exact thing. So we stuck to the plan. We took that caution. We added some fuel, took 4 new tires, and man, we had probably one of the best restarts that I've ever had in my career. I love restarts, especially coming from the back, because there's a lot. It's kind of like a judging game on when you should actually go, because there's a lot of guys that they're waiting on the person right in front of you. But in IndyCar, you can go whenever the green flag is out. So I'm always watching all the way around the corner to see when that first guy is going to go. Once I see him go, that green flag's coming out pretty shortly, so you can go yourself. So that's exactly the way that I planned it. We cut through 10 I passed 10 cars in less than 45 seconds coming from the restart in 21st. So we were up into 11th, and then I picked away at past Ericsson and past Joseph Newgarden as well, and we're sitting there in 9th with better tires, more fuel, and so I mean, we were in such a good position there, and we probably went a little bit too long on that stint, just hoping on a caution to come out. And if that caution came out, we would have put a lap on the field. We would have cycled back to the front. So that was kind of the entire thought process on the entire thing. But we stuck it out. We stuck with our plan. The caution didn't come out, and we lost some positions due to that, because my tires were absolutely beat. We went from running 216, 17 to running 204, 205 just based on tire wear. So that was a tough pill to swallow, but we passed some more guys. I think we were back up into 12th or 13th at the time, and we were still in a good position, right? And unfortunately, that the next restart that we had, it didn't go like the first restart that we had. I was making some passes and went around the outside of Devlin DiFrancesco, and he came up just the slightest little bit on the track, and that's just enough around Texas Motor Speedway to put you into the PJ1, and there's pretty much no saving it from there. So unfortunately, we just ended up too high into the PJ1, and that cost us the race. But overall, I was ecstatic with our performance. AJ Super Tex was there, and he was absolutely stoked. I mean, I haven't seen him this happy yet. And he just loved watching that number 14 car lead some laps around Texas Motor Speedway. So that was awesome to see. The team was ecstatic. We had a great race up until then. It's just we got caught out with a very, very minor error.
I wonder, I've been around this for a long time. And one of the things that I've always thought is maybe underappreciated is how team chemistry develops between a driver and the crew and all that goes in there. And I wonder if you reflect back, those moments at Texas, how that connected you to Larry and Scott and everybody that calls the shots and works on your cars. When it was all done, do you see it or feel it the same way, Kyle, that now you've got a different sort of connection than you had before they dropped the green flag for the XPEL 375?
Yeah, no doubt. It's cool to see. I mean, I felt so bad for the team. I mean, I wasn't upset with myself because it really was out of our control and everything was going accordingly. I don't think we didn't make any mistakes up until that moment. Probably, I mean, if I was to take any blame, it could have been me probably being a little bit too ambitious.
Kyle Kirkwood and that black AJ Foyt. Kirkwood loses it. The 14's in the wall.
But at the same time, I trusted the guys I was racing. So, and unfortunately that didn't pay off for us. But I mean, after the race, I thought everyone was going to be all heads down, like this is terrible, blah, blah, blah. No, they were all ecstatic. They didn't care that the car was destroyed. They thought we had an awesome race. And it's good to see because we're kind of bringing this new light into AJ Foyt Racing as a team together, and we're working together awesomely. And I couldn't be happier because, you know, there's some character building moments to take away from this because, yeah, everything was going great. But when things are going bad, and unfortunately things went bad for us at Texas, everyone was still in high spirits. So that is such an awesome thing to see. And I mean, it only brings us closer together.
Well, listen, I don't want to keep you away from the allure of those waves because I understand that they're pretty high there in Jupiter. Last question. I alluded to the fact that Rick Mears has called Jupiter, Florida home for so many years, and you have never run into him. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, I know exactly where he lives. I've been in his neighborhood so many times to go golfing, and I have never seen him there. So it's a bit strange that we actually have never met. I'm hoping to meet him here pretty shortly. Who, you know, Scott Harner has been trying to put us in touch, and I'm trying to harvest some wisdom from him for Indianapolis. That's for sure. So so hopefully here shortly I'll be able to meet him, and it'll be nice to know somebody else from the IndyCar field is right here, or know someone here in the IndyCar field that lives right next to me here in Jupiter, Florida.
Come on, take the same attitude you use on restarts, okay? Grow a set. All right, you know where he lives. Get out of your car, knock on the door, because trust me, he knows who you are. Seriously, wish you nothing but the very best, and looking forward to visiting with you often here on the Wind Tunnel because you have got a bright future ahead of you. It's a lot of fun to watch you, my friend.
Cool. Thank you so much, Jack.
Coming your way after the break, you'll meet a NASCAR short track hero when we bring you this week's Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
Man, this is for all those guys. There's a ton of them out there that are like me, that have won here and all these great short tracks around here. We can do it. We just need the opportunities. Today proved it. Yeah, it's a short track, but it's still damn hard to win here, and we did it.
They are hometown heroes, drivers who put their passion on the line in front of their friends.
Here we go, 3 wide, got Sellers up in the marble.
Halfway home in this one. And here is the fight for the lead off turn 4. He heads for the checkered flag.
They're 3 wide in 2 different rows.
Time now to focus the spotlight on hometown heroes with this week's Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap. Brought to you by the NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series. driving local racing in local communities forward.
Well, regulars here on Wind Tunnel may notice that the introduction music underneath the Advanced Auto Parts NASCAR victory lap today is Enter the Sandman, which is a little bit different. But there is a significance to that replacement. It is because my next guest, who will take his victory lap, is a proud Virginia Tech freshman, just finishing up his freshman season, but more importantly, a veteran of the Commonwealth of Virginia short tracks. We're talking about Daniel Sylvestri. Daniel, welcome and taking a victory lap, and I'm so pleased to have you join me here inside the wind tunnel. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on. And I love it, man. Enter Sandman's a great song, and it brings me back to all the football games I went to this fall. And, you know, what a great school. So I appreciate you playing that for me.
In a very short period of time, you have amassed a pretty impressive record, both in the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series, where 2 years ago you finished second at Dominion Raceway, which is no easy feat for a youngster, and then out on the Cars Tour 1 year ago. So I wonder, what are your 2022 campaign plans?
My plan is to go back to Dominion Raceway and go run for a track title, you know, try to go one more spot up. And I think, you know, we almost did it in 2020. We ran behind last year's national champion, Peyton, which is no easy feat to do. So I think our plan is to come back and try to get one spot better.
You know, Peyton Sellers has been on this show several times. And in fact, he is the one that touted your accomplishments to me, quote unquote, you need to get this kid on because he is an up and comer. What does it mean to have an endorsement from a guy that has won national championships and is a perennial contender in that Clarence's Steakhouse Toyota?
Well, it means a lot. You know, he's got a lot of talent. He's been around the sport for, you know, a long time, and he's raced against a lot of up and comers. You know, William Byron's gone through that shop and stuff like that. So it means a lot. And it means a lot as his competition. You know, I'm not going to lie and say, even though I'm running at his shop, he's the one guy I want to beat every week. And so, you know, and that means a lot. And that's my goal this year is, you know, he's one of the guys that I want to go out there and outrun every week. But, you know, I know it's going to take work.
What are some of the most lasting lessons that you've learned working out of that Sellers shop?
Well, it's just, you know, it's all a family. I think everybody, you know, really works well together. It's a big deal. Peyton's taught me a lot, specifically him, about how to be a good, like, professional race car driver. You know, he's a guy that you can get. He talks really well to all the sponsors. He really promotes himself in a good manner. And I think, you know, this presence of the racetrack, being, you know, someone that a lot of people look up to is really well done. And he's a really approachable guy. But at the same time, you know, he's a guy that's going to go out there and win on the racetrack if he has to. And he's really shown me how to race hard and go and get every single bit that you want on the racetrack. And so it's kind of that duality of both, you know, being a professional person off the racetrack, but when you put that helmet on and put the visor down, it's all about going out there and trying to win. So I've learned a lot from, you know, that team.
I understand that the love for auto racing came at the knee of your dad at the ripe old age of 3 years old, while the two of you sat and watched a NASCAR race on television. I know 3 is kind of early on in your career, but do you remember that period of time?
Absolutely. My family is not a auto racing family. You know, it's not something that my dad was from Philadelphia. My mom's from Puerto Rico. And, you know, my dad grows up loving Philly sports, and I'm a big Eagles and Phillies fan. So to have a kid that just likes watching cars go around in circles was definitely a new thing for him. But I remember that very much. I had all the die casts. I used to play with the cars. I knew every race car driver. So I've loved the sport ever since I was little. I love all forms of racing, and that's, you know, it's a true passion of mine.
And I understand too that maybe the guy that you want to follow in footsteps of, with all due respect to Peyton, because he has found his home on the short tracks, but like so many young men like you and women, your ultimate goal is to compete at the very top level of NASCAR, and that, of course, is the Cup Series. You've had your eye on and have been a cheerleader for Daniel Hemrick, What do you see in Daniel Hemrick that has made you so enthusiastically supportive of him?
Well, I think he's a great guy. He's someone that I got to meet through connections when I was doing legend car racing, and I've been able to talk to Daniel. And the dude can drive a race car. I think he's getting the chance to prove that this year. And I really think he's, again, another stand-up guy. There's guys that in the garage you can go and talk to, and no matter who you are, you can have a good conversation with. And he's one of those guys. And I respect his story. I listened to his I Am Athlete podcast with some of those guys when he went on and learned more about him. And I think I respect his hustle and his drive to be successful at this level of sport.
You realize to this day, the big debate within the Hemrick household is that he is not the best driver, but rather his wife is the best driver. Don't take my word for it. You know it as well as I do. Just look at the Legends car records. They speak for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I've gotten the chance to meet both of them because I actually drove for Kenzie's crew chief at the time. So they go back and forth about all that and all the racing they used to do way before I ever came along in the picture. So absolutely, I do know. Actually, I've seen Kenzie's legend car as well. So I've seen all that stuff at the shop. So I still hear that every so often.
Let's talk for a moment. You've said and shared with us your goal is to go out and chase for a championship this season. From your standpoint, also, while you chase for that goal, what are some of the elements of your racecraft that you want to improve upon?
Well, the biggest thing is just feedback. I'm learning more about these race cars every single week, and I'm trying to become a student. It's just being a student of the game, and so I'm trying to be better at that. I think my going cars tour racing last year really improved my feedback because I had to go to a new racetrack every weekend, and we had to build the setup for the car and get it to where it needs to be competitive. And that's challenging at times because not every weekend you're going to unload with the right setup, and you need to really work to get it right. So I'm trying to work on that. I'm learning every day what certain things, what I'm feeling, getting more detailed. I've gotten a lot better at it, and that's something I really want to improve. And then just, learning how to manage a race a little bit better, be in the right spots, and then overall, finish better. I want to be competing for the win, obviously every single race, but I feel like it's a realistic goal for me and something I can achieve this year.
As I introduced you under the dulcet tones of Enter the Sandman, I revealed to my listeners that you are finishing up your freshman year at Virginia Tech. Look, that's not an easy peasy place to go and enroll and take the number of courses that freshmen are required to. So how in God's name have you successfully mixed your freshman year at Vatech, being a Hokie, and preparing for this chase for this Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series title that you've set as your goal this season? How do you make both of them work?
You just have to really work on your time management. There are great people that work at that school, and they're really working to personalize your education for yourself and what you plan to do. So this semester, I went with my counselor and I said, I need a full day off to where I could go to either the race shop or go to the track. Like this past Tuesday, I was at the track testing. And so I made a schedule to where I have no classes on Tuesday, and that is basically my race car day. So for the past 2 months, I've been heading down to the racing shop or going to the track to test, and that's the day that I've selected to do race car stuff. And then the rest of the week, I have to go and catch up on the schoolwork and just work on making sure I'm getting my studies done, and then also focusing on the racing stuff. So it's a little bit of stuff, things to balance. It's definitely going to get harder as race season picks up in April. We're going to go in the finals and stuff like that, but I have no doubt I can do it. And I know there are people that can work with me to make sure everything goes cleanly and I can, finish the year with very good grades.
I have to know, what was the initial response when you walked into your counselor's office and revealed to him that, look, I've got to maneuver my classroom schedule because I need a day to go test a race car or go work in a race shop? Some raised eyebrows there?
Absolutely. I think every conversation I have with anybody at the school is always like, oh, this is totally, nobody really meets a race car driver really often, unless you're really from towns that kind of are surrounded by that racetrack. But so I've always gotten that. I've gotten very used to that look. So you just go through the whole story of, this is what I'm doing, this is how I started. And there's very similar questions that get asked every time. And you kind of just go through the entire rundown of everything people want to know. And I'm still trying to get racing involved with the school. I think there's a great opportunity with Virginia Tech and, having someone as myself as a race car driver. And so I'm trying to knock down those doors down there and see if we can make something happen. But, one can only hope. And that's kind of I've just been super impressed with the school overall.
Well, we appreciate you taking a little bit of time, kicking off your spring break to visit with me and take a victory lap here in the wind tunnel. Good luck this year, because I got a sneaky suspicion old Peyton Sellers is going to have his hands full trying to win another title with you in his rearview mirror.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
You've been listening to the Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap, brought to you by the NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series, driving local racing in local communities forward.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
Welcome back to your podcast home for motorsports conversation. Jack Arute's Wind Tunnel.
Corvette Racing. Here he comes. Garcia looking for his fourth win here at Sebring.
He's now down the Almond Straight, coming to turn 17, rounding for the last time.
Bordelati some 5 seconds back in the Lamborghini. Gounon will round out the podium with Tielet's issues late in the going.
Disappointment at Daytona. Corvette wins at Sebring.
Wow, that is making a statement right there. Jordan Taylor, he gets his second win, one here in 2017 alongside Alex Lynn and his brother Ricky. Lookout World, Corvette Racing are back.
Well, we'll finish out our tribute to Young Guns this episode with a visit with a young man that, well, he has won championships. He has won big-time titles over in the 24 Hours of Le Mans, all the way to the Rolex 24. And just this past weekend, he was part of the winning combination in the GTD Pro Series at the Mobile One Sebring 12 Hours, brought to you by Advance Auto Parts. We're talking about Jordan Taylor, who joins us now. Jordan, congratulations. I mean, it is hard to believe or to fathom, quite honestly, that you have such a rich winning resume at such an early age.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. I don't consider myself a young gun anymore. I appreciate you including me in that title. But yeah, I've been very fortunate to be aligned with some amazing teams and corporations over the years, and I've been in good equipment at these big events to put myself in a good position to win these races. So you could do the Rolex 24, the Sebring 12 hour, 50 or 100 times and never win it. So I've been very fortunate to have things go my way over the years, and this week was no exception. A lot of things went our way to get this win.
I think that's an understatement, my friend. I mean, you take the lead 56 minutes into this 12-hour marathon, and then you continue by just dominating. You and your teammates, you guys put your foot on the throat of your competition. Were there any close moments?
Yeah, I think there were. I mean, we didn't qualify that well. We were third in class, I think 8th or 9th in the overall GT classification. And then kind of once it went green, Antonio was able to drive up to the lead. And even when if you look at the results and us leading every hour, you'd think we dominated. But most of those portions of when we were leading, it was always within, 2 to 5 seconds. So it was always tight. I think we fell back to third, for a portion of the race, right in the middle. The BMW was strong. They had good top speed. So our main concern was if we lost track position, it would be difficult for us to get back around them. So the name of the game for us was maintaining that lead and track position. So it was all down to strategy and executing the pit stops. And, it came down to the last 2 stops where, our guys made a great strategy call to keep us out front and give us about a 10-second lead after that last stop. And that extended the lead to like 16 seconds over the Lamborghini. And they were, coming back to us at the end. They were a bit quicker than us. I think they ended up 8 seconds back. So it was definitely stressful watching Antonio, but yeah, it was a amazing race. It was great calls by Corvette Racing, all day long to keep us out front, because we didn't have the fastest car, but we just didn't make any mistakes and made all the right calls, and that's what it took to, win the big race.
Jordan, the Taylor pedigree is well known and well documented. Not only your brother, but of course, all of the success that you and he enjoyed at the DPI level that was dominated by and continues to be contested by Wayne Taylor Racing. So I think the easy way to put it is you grew up a track brat. What did you learn in the garage watching your dad field cars in endurance and endurance contests?
Yeah, as you said, we grew up around sports car racing, so we were never, IndyCar or Formula One driven. It was always sports car and endurance racing. So I think if you look at the way I drive and my driving style, it's definitely more of a sports car and endurance racing style. I'm definitely not the most flashy guy making the cool passes or anything like that, always on edge. I think my driving style is quite calm and, maybe a little bit boring at times, but in these endurance races, like if you take the 12 hours of Sebring, you spend 8 hours driving around, staying in contention of the win, not necessarily taking big risks to be in the lead, but taking calculated risks to stay in the front, so that when you do get to the last couple hours, that's when you can take those risks and push the limit. So I think that's what I learned just being around my dad all those years, is that, a 24-hour race is never won in the first, 16 to 18 hours. Any little mistake is, if it's your own mistake, you'll be kicking yourself, all year long if you were trying to make up a 1/10 of a second on that lap, where that 1/10 of a second is not going to matter if you end up in the garage for 4 minutes fixing the problem that you made. So I think that was probably the biggest lesson I ever learned, following my dad around.
You talk about you may not be flashy, you may not be the guy that makes that daring, F1 Max Verstappen type pass, or some of the other people in other disciplines. And yet, if you look up the word compromise, the fact that you have to share the seat, especially in these extra distance races, with more than just yourself, I would think that requires a certain flexibility and a certain amount of compromise in terms of the style that you want to display in the cockpit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, thankfully, my full-time teammate is Antonio Garcia, and thankfully we have very similar driving styles. And so it's probably not the outright fastest for any one of us, but over a 12 or 24 hour, it's going to be the best for everyone. So that's just part of sports car racing. That's what kind of makes it interesting. I know when we get guys from IndyCar or NASCAR or Formula One, it's weird for them to share the car and, sit out for a practice session and watch the car develop from a setup point of view and then jump into the next session and it be a completely different animal. So I think it's a fun aspect of sports car racing. I think it's a good place to learn. You learn to drive different styles. You have to adapt to different cars if it's working for someone else. So I think as a driver, you can learn a lot that way.
What's it mean to you to be one of the lead drivers for the true American sports car, that thing that's known as a Chevrolet Corvette? I mean, my gosh, whether you're a sports car fan or not, when you see that bow tie and that sleek Corvette out there competing, it makes American pride stand up and salute. What's it mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's so special. I'm so proud of being a part of it, as an American driver. To be with the biggest American manufacturer in racing is everything. And I grew up, watching my dad race. He raced, Ferraris, Cadillacs, all sorts of sports cars. And as an American watching Le Mans every year, you always see the yellow Corvettes and everyone talks about the yellow Corvettes. And when I went over to Le Mans, you just see the fan base that they have even in Europe, not just America. The American fan base is insane. So to be a part, it's still hard to believe again. And, I know how special it is. I know that it's a place that a lot of drivers want to be. So I definitely don't, rest and take it easy now that I am here. I know that it brings a lot of pressure, but I also put a lot of pressure on myself to keep performing and, show that I do deserve to be here. So it's been an amazing journey so far. We've won 2 championships now the past 2 years, in Daytona last year and Sebring this year. So yeah, it's been pretty amazing.
Some of the news that the Bowtie Brigade made away from the Corvettes that they field was the announcement by Hendrick Motorsports that they are going to actually take advantage of what they call the Garage 56 entry in the 24 Hours of Le Mans, not this season, but next season, and bring one of NASCAR's next-gen cars as part of the Chevrolet Brigade. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, I don't know how much of a conversion it's going to be from, a cup car. I don't see how a cup car would finish a 24-hour just from a brakes point of view and things like that. I think it's going to be super interesting to see them develop it into whatever it's going to be. It's going to be cool to have that crossover to bring a lot of NASCAR eyes to sports car racing, especially the biggest sports car race of the year. And yeah, I think if anything, they're probably going to have to add a couple brake markers down the Mulsanne straight, because I think they'll be braking a little bit earlier than all of us.
Well, many, many years ago, when Big Bill France Sr. was still alive, he cut a deal with the folks and the organizers of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and full-bodied, those big, just bulky stock cars from the 1980s competed in that twice around the clock endurance race in Le Mans, France. And like you said, they didn't fare that well, but they've been there, they've done it, and they've got the T-shirt. What's left on your bucket list of things that you want to accomplish, my friend?
Oh man, that's a tough question. I mean, I'm a sports car guy, so I love kind of where I am. Obviously, every year we go to Daytona and races like Sebring and Petit Le Mans, those ones you want to win every year if you can. So trying to add those up. I think one thing I've been trying to do for the past few years is do a NASCAR road course race. I think that would be a lot of fun. So I've been working the last couple of years to try get in one. So maybe with the new rules, with the new cars, could make it a little bit easier to jump in one, but I think that's probably top of my list right now.
Well, maybe you ought to call Mr. H and cut a deal.
Yeah.
I'll share with you my knowledge about sports car racing, but you have to share with me an entry at a road course so that I can try my hand at the next gen car. How about that?
That would be a good deal. I would be down for that.
Listen, Jordan, it's always a pleasure. Congratulations to you and your teammates for a well-deserved victory in the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring presented by Advance Auto Parts. And we appreciate your taking a little time to stop inside the wind tunnel today. Good luck the rest of the season.
Yep, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
I'll wrap up this week after we take this time out.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
I appreciate your joining me this week and hope that you enjoyed my conversations with some of the sport's next generation. We will return next week and do it all over again. And I sincerely hope that you'll decide to join me. Until next week, I'm Jack Arute. Thanks for joining me here inside the Wind Tunnel.
You've been listening to Jack Arute's Wind Tunnel. Wind Tunnel is brought to you by Advance Auto Parts, the official auto parts retailer of NASCAR. Follow us on our social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And be sure to subscribe to Wind Tunnel's YouTube channel, where you'll discover bonus content. I'm Lenny Baticki of Performance Racing Network's At the Track Show, saying thank you for joining us today. See you again next week.